So former NFL player Michael Oher, who the Blindside movie was about, he's come out. Now, what's interesting is, I'm sure you guys have heard the story, but what's interesting is about this Michael Oher thing is he came out and said all of this, like it was years and years ago. He came out and said all
Like
of this.
closer to the time of the movie?
It was after the movie. It was after the movie. But he was, said this exact thing about, the people never adopted him. He didn't get any money. And they really took advantage of him. But I think at that time, I don't know why he's taken off now and not.
Well, he's filed a suit.
Okay, so that's the difference.
Yeah, so he's filed a suit to somehow, I guess, lift the conservatory or whatever they have. So my loose understanding of this is that instead of an adoption, when he was in high school, he was actually the age of 18. And what they did was, instead of an adoption, they did a conservatorship, which basically kind of gave them the equivalent of, I guess, power of attorney for him and his affairs. Now, they ostensibly told him that because he was 18, this is what they had to do, and they couldn't adopt him, which the context of the story I'm reading, I think you can adopt somebody beyond the age of 18. And but I don't know, and again, I'm not sure what he's suing for. Is there some money that was, gone missing, or some opportunities that were, he was precluded from pursuing because of them that would, result in some damage? Or was there something that maybe with some residuals on the movie that he should or would be entitled to, but for the conservatorship? So I'm not really sure what the legal basis of this is. And I also am puzzled by the timing. Because as you just said, he said a lot of this stuff before. Why now is it time to take some sort of legal action? In
the news and in social media, you hear a lot of sides. And one of the sides is he must be broke now. He's an NFL player who...
It's the easiest assumption.
Right. And now he's trying to. But regardless of his financial status, if he's owed some money, he's owed some money. Right? And if this is the way to get it, and if he felt like the time is now, the time is now. Now, what brought to mind this, I couldn't help but to think about something when I heard this story, especially when it got recycled this time. So of course I graduated from Winter Park High School. All right. Now, when I left Winter Park, I still was a part of the basketball program. Sometimes Orlando Sentinel would utilize me because of the relationship I had, and also wrote for the school newspaper, right? And I guess some people read it at Orlando Sentinel. So they would utilize me, and I would interview Austin. I would come back home from college, and I would interview Austin several times, things like that, and get it in the paper. Now, we know that the Rivers would adopt kids, and this is the thing. This is the thing. Now, I hate to talk about stuff I don't know a lot about, but we're talking about optics and we're talking about how it looks. Now, when well-off families, or people just, it don't have to be well-off. Some people just adopt kids who are from, who are from unfortunate, or what's the word I'm looking for? Poor places.
Just bad circumstances.
Yeah, bad circumstances, poor places, whatever the case may be, they get adopted and they help these kids out. But just like, the Rivers, it just, oddly enough, every person they would adopt either had a 40-inch vertical leap or 6'8" or whatever. And so,
did you see Winter Park 10 years later, the documentary?
Yeah, I did.
The funniest line in the whole thing is current Haggerty basketball coach Josh Cohn goes, "Yeah, nobody's adopting 5'8" trumpet players."
And I don't. Here goes the thing. I mean, there's the 6'8" guys and the 40-inch vertical leap guys that come from bad circumstances. They have to get hopefully they get help as well, right? And these well-off families, they rich people look for return on investment, ROIs. It's like they have that shit tattooed on the refrigerator. You understand? Like that's what they look for, and we can't be mad because I can't be mad. I'm not rich, so who am I to fucking determine who these people should adopt and who they shouldn't adopt? And if they're really helping somebody or they're helping themselves. The actual answer may be, they're helping each other.
It's mutually beneficial.
It's mutually beneficial. That's
Well,
what
if
it
you,
just may be.
I mean, I don't know all the particulars, but Adam Jones is the guy we're talking about with the Rivers, and he
There's
came.
a couple of them.
There's a couple, but
yeah.
Adam came to Winter Park and played alongside Austin, in their title team and all that.
Yeah.
But those two guys were playing AAU before. I mean, there was like a relationship there. I'm sure if you've been involved in AAU or travel sports or whatever, like like everybody kind of helps each other.
Yeah.
Every parent can't be at every practice, game, or tournament. And so it's like, hey, can you take my kid with you and, look out for him while you guys go to wherever. And it's a common thing. And you build like close, tight bonds. And, when my son was playing soccer, there was, kids by the house frequently. Or when we went to tournaments away, there was at least one, sometimes two or three that were kind of under my care for the weekend and so forth. So it's not uncommon. You build relationships, and then it's like, okay, well, hey, this guy's not in a great place. If we take him in, they can play high school together. It's appealing,
Now,
this one's a little different.
It's a little different, and so Michael Oher came out with his statement, and the father, the stepdad or whatever you want to label him as,
Tim McGraw,
he came out with his statement. And basically, he was, well, of course, he said, well, Michael Oher, everything he's saying is not true. And what he said was they didn't really get paid from the movie either, other than they received a royalty or one-time, and I may have the word wrong, but like a one-time fee or royalty fee or what have you as a family. And they divided that money between everyone, including Michael, which came out to about $14,000 apiece. And he said Michael received that money. And that's all they have ever received from this huge, humongous movie. You can believe that or you can't believe it. Now, maybe Michael received this check for $14,000 and just thought that wasn't enough. And I what do I know? But this movie is a major movie. You would have to think like these guys would have made a lot more than that.
Well, I mean, what is your deal? I mean, that's the thing. Like, you have story rights that you can sell to a studio or a producer or whoever, but if you agree to a single price, that's the deal you made. And there's people that sell their story to, movie makers, producers, etc., and it never gets made.
Mm-hmm.
It just sits. But the other side of that coin is they got cashed out for something.
Mm-hmm.
But it goes the other way. If you sell a story and you agree to a fixed price and it blows up and becomes like sort of a culturally significant movie. I mean, that was a pop culture movie at the time.
Yeah.
That you've made the money you made. That's the deal you made. Now, if you're more sophisticated or have different levels of leverage, then you can probably get a deal where you're selling it, but you're getting points in the movie, and it creates a stream of residual income almost forever.
Yeah.
But again, I don't know the particulars, but they may not have made that deal. Now, the other way to look at this, based on the movie, my understanding is they kind of owned some fast food places. They weren't broke, and they were doing well for themselves. But again, they were just kind of a local family with a few businesses. The movie put them into like a national, everybody who saw the movie knew who they were. And there's probably a lot of money.
Their business. Yeah.
It could increase their business directly, but it also created a lot of other maybe money-making opportunities outside what the film directly created for them. It enhanced their profile, what have you. And the opposite side of that, from Michael's standpoint, by that point, he's already an established NFL guy, a very successful career and player. Like, it didn't do probably as much for him. Or the other side of this that you could look at is maybe he wasn't as aggressive in trying to capitalize on that because he's in the midst of an NFL playing career and committing his all to that. So I don't know what all the money is, but there's certainly different ways to look at it and different perspectives to have. But my thing is that like the way the conservatorship is structured, like did they take advantage of that situations? Did they make decisions in that, perhaps including the movie, but outside of the movie, that either created financial opportunity for them on his name, image, or likeness, or created things for him or prevented him from pursuing opportunities that would have been individually lucrative to him? How did they manage that conservatorship? That's probably what the legal issue is. And then he hopefully, if he wants to succeed in the claim, he's got to be able to establish and prove up some damages connected to their behavior in that role.
I really didn't know that he was already 18. Like that,
Yeah.
The movie made it seem like, and I don't know. It's been so long since I've seen it, but I was always under the impression he was, whatever, or sophomore, freshman, sophomore, and they kind of brought him in and helped, rein his emotions into being a better football player and a better person. And they also made him to be like a slower guy. You know what I mean? And they said that's not true in real life.
No, yeah, in real life, again, yeah. I mean, he's probably more intelligent. I mean, that kid in the movie almost appeared to have a learning disability.
Yeah,
and that's apparently not the truth of Michael Oher. And then the other thing you gotta realize too is that, somebody who's that big and that athletic, like you're not teaching them how to play football like that. Like he's already kind of a freakish guy, and so it's kind of it's a little bit they're not finding some guy that but for their intervention would never know how to do anything athletic. And so that's certainly an overstatement. But here, another thing that perhaps that might have played into this that isn't well represented in the movie is the relationship probably occurred over a longer period of time. Like he might have been a freshman or sophomore when they first encountered him, but I don't think they jumped right to, hey, we want to adopt you like 30 days later. I mean, they might have kind of started helping him out here, there, or whatever, and he gradually starts to maybe spend more time at their house, and then you kind of reach a decision that, like, hey, let's do something to make this official.
Right.
And that you can't necessarily portray that in a 2-hour movie.
No, you can't. No, that makes more sense. But who knows where this is going to go, because I honestly I can see both sides. I can see both sides. If they're true, nobody really knows what's the truth, right?
Right.
Until we actually find out. But some of these things can definitely be determined and found out. Like whether he was adopted or not, like that's something you can literally find out.
Well, apparently that is conclusive. I mean, like you have court documents that establish a conservatorship, not an adoption. So that's kind of not an issue per se.
Yeah.
It's really, was he duped into this, or did they, to what extent did they take some sort of financial advantage over him through that, conservatorship vehicle?
What's going on, Black?
What's happening?
I wonder, could the $14,000 check be determined? Whether like the family actually cut him a $14,000 check in the middle of his NFL career?
Yeah, I mean, if a physical check was cut, it could be proven. Yeah. There's a canceled check somewhere in a computer. That's not. Unless they slid him cash. I mean, if it was any sort of,
paper trail.
Yeah, paper trail transfer.
So that's what I'm saying. Like a lot of these things can be determined and figured out, man.
Yeah.
Found out. So both of these guys taking strong sides of I'm right, you're wrong. Like I don't know, man.
Here's the problem. Right now, like they're both trying to preserve being the public good guy.
Public image. Yeah,
this right now is public image posturing. Like whatever the legal, and I'm most fascinated by, okay, what is the legal meat of this?
Yeah.
Like what did they do? Because there's really not like there's no legal damage in and of itself of being adopted versus establishing a conservatorship. It comes down to like, was that vehicle used, to disadvantage him financially?
Right.
And that's where the meat is on the bone here. But at this point, there's just not enough out there publicly to say.